Here we go.
Now it is.
We are in, all right.
It makes noise.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order and start with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Councilman Reifenberg.
Here.
Councilman O'Hanlon.
Present.
Councilman Mazzella.
Here.
Councilwoman Albrecht.
Here.
Our town clerk.
Here.
Our town attorney.
Here.
And yours truly is here. Are we adopting agenda as is? Or are we having any changes to it at the present time? Anyone copy add? Okay. And receipt and acceptance of minutes.
Did I miss something? Because I haven't seen any minutes.
Okay, so we're going to have to do that at some point.
What do you mean?
Well, we have a new order we're working on here.
Oh,
We've kind of passed this, and this is one of the things, our new rules.
yeah, but what I'm saying is that, don't we have minutes outstanding? Oh, it was the meeting that she missed.
Okay, so
Okay.
just to update, this is how we're going to start our meetings in the future. We just passed this as part of our rules of how we're going to run the meetings. So in the future, we will have the adoption of and receipt of minutes and acceptance of the minutes, I believe. We all had the rules, we all read them, we all agreed, so,
I think what this thing doesn't suit me. I think what Councilwoman Albrecht's referencing is that we should have the minutes for the last town board meeting to accept tonight, so that they were within
Right.
2 weeks to the public.
Right.
I think that's what she's asking.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
So if we don't have them ready yet, we should probably double check and see where we're at with them.
okay, we'll come back to that. All correspondence, all official correspondence is on file in the town clerk's office. Tonight, we don't think we have any oral committee reports or presentations, which is pretty rare. So at this point in time, we'd like to open the meeting to the public for agenda items only.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there copies of the
Is there
agenda?
any copies?
I think we should give folks a minute to scan it and absorb it
Okay.
that didn't have a copy.
No.
In the meantime, while you folks are scanning and enjoying the agenda, I got a couple announcements I would like to make, some updates of some of our scheduling. First off, I would like to take this opportunity and acknowledge the men and women who served 78 years ago today in D-Day, and salute and thank the greatest generation. I think I can speak for the rest of the board as well. And in celebration of D-Day, not so much today, but on Sunday, there's going to be a free event held and hosted by the county for the veterans of the county, an appreciation movie day. And it's going to be on Sunday, June 12th at 10 a.m. And they're going to watch the movie Top Gun, which I understand is fantastic. Yeah, awesome, I heard. Awesome's a better word, all right. So that's this Sunday, June 12th, 10 a.m. If you're a vet, come to the Roosevelt Cinemas in Hyde Park, I believe, and enjoy Top Gun on the county. Also this weekend, we have the 75th anniversary celebration of the Salt Point Firehouse. That's the 10th, the 11th, and 12th. They've got all kinds of great stuff going on. Highly suggest you all attend. 75 years is a great accomplishment, and we wish them the best. You might see some of us there. 6/13 is the think tank at 7 p.m. That's a Monday night. The topic will be Rettle Park again. And our regular meeting was moved to 6:15 due to the fact that 6/20 is a observed holiday that we didn't figure out. So we're moving it back a little bit. So it's a little short week for us coming up. But that works well for our paying the bills and stuff. Okay, has everybody had a chance to digest the agenda? It is still open to the public.
Mr. Veeder, if you could just press the button on that microphone to turn it on the bottom. Nope, on the bottom, on the base. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Greetings. Couple things that you're be talking about. I think the credit card processing at the compactor, et cetera, would be a welcome addition. Mill site update. I gotta say that looks a bit better than when it was built because it has grown into itself. And a lot of work went into that, and I think that will lead to maybe some good community spirit, and I hope that the next project will do the same thing. Thank you all, whoever volunteered to do that. I'm not sure what the amendment on video conferencing is. I didn't say anything about it, but we're small enough that I think the town's important to meet here.
So, well, we've had some situations in the past, and there was some question as to whether or not we could do a video conferencing. Well, first off, we had the allowance to do it during COVID. And I think when I had COVID, we attempted it, right?
We did,
And so that kind of gave us the legal ease to do that. But recently, we've had some situations where people are either away or have been taken away from this table and have requested it. Now, since the COVID has passed, it goes back to the old rules, so we're finding out where we can be, and I think we have some updates today, so.
Okay, I just think a small town like us getting together face to face is important. Now, every time I come, it's a surprise. The surprise this time was the maintenance code. I think it's well written for the town of Poughkeepsie. I don't think it's well written for our agricultural community, which we still have a lot of. Maybe we don't milk cows, but we have a lot of agriculture. I don't think going squirrel hunting with a howitzer is necessary. And in all due respect to this thing, I got told asked at the last meeting not to mow my lawn anymore, and this tells me I can't do it over 6 inches. It can't go over 6 inches. Also, there's no exemption for hay fields. 6 inches of hay isn't much. So I think if it is to come, and I understand the problem. There are areas in town that are neglected and people are living in them, and I understand that problem. I was active when zoning was first adopted in Pleasant Valley. that one was thrown out later, but I was at that period. And I and many others said that we want zoning to be be enforced equally, not by complaints. And I just would remind you that some of it is very obvious, but to act on complaints is not fair. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on agenda items only? Not hearing or seeing any, I move to close the meeting to the public.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the topic that Mr. Veeder has brought up was right on the top. So to explain and go into more detail, we'd like to bring to the microphone Sarah Davis from our zoning department.
Hi, good evening, Sarah Davis. So I've given you this just as a kind of example of what I'm looking for. Of course, we don't take Town of Poughkeepsie's words, and we're not Town of Poughkeepsie. But this process worked well for me in the town, to be able to go to the town board and ask if a property has been abandoned and vacant, everybody's gone, all their stuff is gone, if we can cut the grass. And this makes a mechanism for the town to be able to do that, to hire somebody, because our highway department doesn't have the time or the equipment to do that on a case-by-case basis. I foresee a lot of homes coming empty. Things are getting more expensive and the interest rates are going up. I think you have already 3 houses on West Road that I don't imagine using this on occupied properties. I don't think that's what the town of Pleasant Valley would be looking for. I think more on occupied or vacant properties that have been abandoned. But I wanted you to take a look at it as a blueprint of what I'd like to do. There you go.
So this is not etched in stone, this is a,
No, not at
Something
all.
we can-
but
we can
I
look
helped-
at, digest,
I
and-
worked on this one, so I kind of know what it says.
So if we have an idea for you, just email it to you and then
Yeah,
you'll
please,
just do
please,
what
because I
you-
think eventually the attorneys are going to be writing this, not me.
Okay,
But,
okay.
yeah, to make it for the town of Pleasant Valley
Right,
instead.
Right,
And it wouldn't apply to ag districts, it wouldn't apply to farms, obviously, there's a lot of exemptions for them on the books anyway that would stop using that. Sometimes this stuff is by case basis. It's not something I can go into a neighborhood usually and say, I'm gonna do the whole neighborhood and make sure everybody's cut their grass. It's usually one house that hasn't cut their grass. And this gives me a mechanism with your authority to do something about it and to put those fees on the taxes, which is the other thing you need to do.
I didn't read it through yet,
Okay.
really, okay, but, don't the, like, if a house is abandoned and a bank owns it or has the mortgage,
Mm-hmm.
aren't they responsible after the people leave to come and do it?
Sure.
Okay.
But they need
But
somebody
then
to
you have
tell
get
them
hold of
to do it,
You gotta
yes.
tell them, right, okay, yeah,
And that process can take a long time.
yes, right.
Sarah, I'm sorry, are we still talking?
No, go ahead.
I only kind of briefed through it this afternoon when I got it. I didn't get a chance to dive into it fully. There's anything in here that covers maybe like general, let's say I'm living in a nice neighborhood and everyone's keeping their place right, and then somebody's parking 6 cars, a trailer, 6 different lawnmowers that have died, and all kinds of debris and different things, and the grass is high. Does
There
that
is-
cover anything like that?
Yes, there is part of the code that would cover that. It's kind of an aside.
Okay.
But it is a section I feel that I'd like to take right out of the town of Poughkeepsie, because your codes don't allow me to work on a kind of situation like that.
So we don't have anything right now?
I have nothing.
presently? Okay.
There's nothing,
Okay.
nothing.
So would this, reading through this, would this cover that situation, or would that be another potential change?
No, this was,
This
was put in there to cover,
Okay.
recover that, because
Okay.
there's another section that covers it, not as broadly.
Okay.
So,
So, and this also works on right-of-way, so if somebody, like, you know, on 44 has dumped 3 couches and 12 tables, but it's on the right-of-way of somebody's house, I can ask them to do it. In other words, I can't get the state to do it, they're not gonna do it.
right.
I can ask them to do it, and if they can't do it, then we can, and charge them. And it's unfortunate they got dumped upon,
Right.
but they also have the opportunity to come to the town board and seek help.
Or the town zoning department, not necessarily the town board.
Well, first with the town zoning pardon, yes.
Okay, let's start there.
Now, that would be part of this, or do we have a code for that already?
We don't have a code for that.
We don't. Okay.
So this covers a lot of ground.
It covers a lot of ground.
When I've seen this used before, there really is a lot of protection for residents because
Oh,
they
yeah.
do have an opportunity to correct the situation. They have a public hearing. It's not like, you know, someone just shows up with
Right.
a lawnmower. I mean,
This
there's a
takes
whole
months.
process.
Right, right.
But it, you know, for a neighborhood where there's one property that's really causing a nuisance, you know, it
It
can
can
be a
be
handy
helpful.
tool.
Very helpful.
Right across the street. Right across the street.
We happen to have a house that's probably, what, 6 feet tall?
So this will help you, yeah, that's good. So we now,
Might as well bail it.
It's gotta be, yeah, it's gotta be waist level right now across the street. The town took the the town took the house,
Probably taller than that.
yeah, the town took the house down a couple years ago. And then, that was long before I, and Johnny were on the board. Yeah,
They load like, what, 2 feet
yeah,
off the road, but the rest of it must be
yeah, it's high.
like the property.
okay,
So again, coming with this, our highway department doesn't have the machinery or the time to go and cut the grass when I need them to cut the grass.
Right.
So I suggest we hire a separate contractor, or maybe the guy who does the parks or something, but somebody who would be available to more quickly respond to the
and do we
request.
hand the property the bill?
Yes,
Okay,
most definitely.
And if they
And
don't
then-
pay it, it goes on the taxes.
It goes
Right,
on
it
the
goes on the
taxes.
The
taxes.
county pays the.
Right,
Perfect.
because I do the searches for the banks, I also know that's one of the main things they ask, do we owe any money, is there any fees, things like that. So they're all ready to pay for them, they just don't want to pay for them up front.
real quickly, how do you differentiate between high grass on a property or like what Mr. Vita brought up? This is a agricultural town, so a guy would want to have a hayfield.
I think you'd use your common sense.
I know common sense would be the way we go, but there are people that say, wait a minute, I'm growing hay on my property. Why does he get away with it on hundreds of acres and my 1/4 of an acre, I can't do that?
Because he has agricultural protections, you do not.
Okay, all right, good. All right, so, good.
Okay? Just
Any other
consider it,
questions
see what you
for-
think.
I'd like to say I'm actually happy to see us doing something with the vacant property thing because the home across the road from me got vacated back when the big, mortgage crash in 2008. The homeowners left and went to Texas. It went into foreclosure, and once the bank took it over, at first they were actually coming by and cutting the grass once every 2 months, and then they just up and forgot about it.
Well, they didn't forget.
And I had, grass 3 feet high across the street, which attracts a lot of creatures like snakes and other things that I would rather not have around. And I finally got to the point where one day I just got a little ticked off. I took my lawn tractor and cut a great big crisscross in it to make it look stupid. And lo and behold, 2 or 3 days later, somebody came and cut the grass. But I shouldn't have to do that.
No, of course not. I should have to find who they are and tell them to do it.
And I couldn't
Nice
even
way.
find out who actually had
No,
the
it's very
property.
difficult, and that's why this process works, because it's very difficult to find who owns the property, because that bank is going to tell me they sold that mortgage.
Right.
And that bank is going to tell me they sold that mortgage.
Right.
And I can't find,
Yeah, I went with the sign for the last realtor that was trying to sell it for them. I called them and they
nothing.
had no idea who actually now owned the property.
It's very hard to find the information.
Okay, so we're gonna sit with this a little bit and digest it
No
and
rush.
read it and pick through it and see if there's anything we
like-
jumps out at us, and we'll get back with you. Each one of the board members can take their time, contact you. What do you think about this? That'd be great. Thank you very much for your time and explaining it to us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we got some A lot of veteran news today. It's not only do we have the acknowledgement of 78 years, and there's going to be a free movie this weekend, but we're also thinking about putting in veteran parking signs up here at the in the parking lot. Which brings us to the next one. Actually, 2 and 3 kind of go together. The parking lot here at Town Hall hasn't been sealed in quite some time. When the lines are, you can't see where the lines are, you know where you're parking, and there's a fire lane right next to the building that no one sees. So,
Can I ask the question of,
Sure.
do you think it's gonna cost that much that you need an RFP?
today, just to give you an example, I want to do my driveway. My driveway is about, I'd say probably 1,700 feet long.
Yep.
And it's probably going to cost me about 12 grand.
Wow.
So that's just a driveway.
Yeah.
With the price of gas the way it is right now and
Yeah,
oil
well,
through the roof,
Yeah. I didn't think that went up.
it went up. It went up. So when we do the RFP for the seal coating and the painting of the lines, and painting the lines, believe it or not, are a lot.
I know.
Believe it.
Well, I thought you could do them separate, that's why.
You can, but it's still an expensive little number. And we should actually set aside 2 spots, I believe was discussed, for veteran spots. So we could talk about that further. Anyone have anything on those 2 things? Any ideas, any suggestions? Let's do this. You had to.
I like the idea of the veteran parking signs, being a vet myself.
Anyone, Mary, Frank? Mary Beth? I think they look sharp. Perfect.
Works for me.
And thank you for bringing this up to the board.
Yes, thank you very much.
I suggested 2 or 3, whatever the board will discuss.
So we're going to look into that seal coating and the painting of the town parking lot and make it more definitive and sharpen it up. Recreation, Camp Sunny Days, composting with Climate Smart. I believe we have with us Ms. Jean Curley. Are you going to say a few words on it, Jean?
Yeah, James, you met with us today, so I don't want to take you in data for sales, but I figured out you.
Who wants to do the talking? Okay.
Good evening. I just wanted to tell, for any of you who haven't seen any of the Facebook postings or anything else about the Repair Cafe, it was a huge success. And Mary and Michael came here and really supported us, and it was nice to see you, and it was really great.
You did a lot of work for that.
Well,
Deserve a lot of
I had
credit.
You do.
And
Thank
thank
you.
you for watering the plants outside too.
Thank you. And we have another pollinator pathway. We actually have 2 more, Mary and the library. All the new plants that they have are all pollinator pathways, flowers. So now to get on with Camp Sunny Days. We talked to Sandy Coe and Danielle. I talked with them. But we did it last year, but on it was very short notice that Climate Smart came together and decided that we had to do something with the kids for composting. And this year, we want to make it better. So composting is a wonderful teaching tool because it introduces kids to concepts like life cycle, decomposition, soil, recycling, garbage, and landfills. They will learn the terms biodegradable and non-biodegradable and what they mean. Compost is simply a way people and kids use the natural process of decomposition to produce a rich, fertile soil amendment with materials such as food scraps, shredded newspaper, and office paper shredded, dried leaves, and plant trimmings. Anyone can compost. Our Climate Smart members will meet at the beginning of each camp session, and there's 3, with the kids and talk about doing the rot thing, composting. We will explain about how compost is done, why we do it, and hopefully the campers will gain a basic understanding of composting. We met today and we're working on a plan. Climate Smart will solicit gift cards from businesses like McDonald's, Dunkin', Utterly Delicious, and Stewart's, and others for the super compost campers. So those of the kids that really put their heart into it and are all gung-ho, and they'll probably all be that, will get some sort of a certificate or something. So that's how we plan to do it. And so more to come. I hope that you guys will approve it.
Okay. Thank you, Jean. All right, credit card processing. I understand this has been fun. Michael or Mary?
So, thanks to Mary Beth, she went out and talked to our bank, Chase, and approached them and kind of let them know that we were looking to accept credit cards. Unfortunately, their proposal, they look at it as how many transactions we're going to have a year. And looking at what we kind of do, we fall into a tier that basically, so step back really quick. As a town, there's certain things that we can't accept. We can't take on the charge for processing a credit card payment. So there's certain things that charge would have to be added to whatever, if you wanted to charge it, it would have to be added to your total.
It's convenience charge.
It's like a convenience
right.
charge, yeah. Chase, basically, in the tier that we fall into, is basically saying that they're not willing to help us in any way figure that out, and that basically we just have to fork up the money for that, which in certain situations we can't do. So Councilwoman Albrecht and I had a meeting about a week and a half ago with M&T, who has talked previously to Supervisor Figliozzi, and there's been dialogue there in the past. And basically, they do this nationally with a company called Hamer Enterprises. So they're down in Texas, and they figured it out, and this is what they do. They have it all set up to be basically on our website, to have the pads here up at the dump, the transfer station. And basically, the convenience charge they would just pass on to the resident if they decided they wanted to put it on a card. And there's no fee. Basically, the way that they make their money for this is in that convenience charge. They get a percentage of it. So I'm just looking through the highlights here. It'd be 2 to 3% for credit cards. If you wanted to do like a ACH is what they called it, which I believe is like using a check or something on their website. Let's say you paid your tax bill or something. That's like a $3 charge that would be passed on, just to give you an idea of what we're looking at.
That's the handy part for Mary Beth's job.
Yes.
You come directly out of people's paycheck to come to you.
They also, for
Without
tax,
paying you programming. Sorry.
no, it's okay. Tax collection, they do a tax lockbox, which is basically they can handle on the back side of things. So when the tax bills go out, if you want to send a payment in, it will actually go to a PO box that they actually do the processing of everything and send the receipt and everything. So it cuts down on the work that the town has to do, and it's free. So,
And they don't have a minimum, right?
they don't have a minimum, no, so.
That's perfect.
So they basically, the way they put this is that they want to build on a relationship with the town, and they have the software to already do it, and this is what
Perfect.
they're experts at. So if you guys are okay with it, I can have documentation given to Emily that they supplied us, and maybe at the next meeting, we can start the process.
I think it's been a necessity for a long time. It makes it easier for people. I fight with my wife all the time. She likes to put things on cards. She thinks it's more convenient. I am a little cheaper. I pay cash. I don't like to pay those extra $2, $3. It's just the way I am. But I think a lot of people, it's a convenience. And even the fact that you walk up there, let's say or wherever you are, and you don't have the cash on you, just the extra convenience to do what you need to do. I do have one question, Mary Beth. Did Chase ever get back to you on the question that I had about if we did go with them, would they back it back down?
She said it would take 90 days.
90 days, okay.
To turn over.
90
You
days.
responded to.
So we'd have to live with it and eat the numbers for 90 days. Because I do believe once this happens, we would have the volume. Most people would.
Oh, yeah.
We would definitely.
They were basing their numbers off of, wasn't it during COVID, Mary
Yeah.
Beth, that they were basing the numbers off of? So the numbers were way down from where they normally would be anyway. And they didn't seem to have any wiggle room there, so.
So there you go.
Question that's right after during this, not just about this, I know some surrounding towns, like LaGrange, you can go on their town website, pay their town property taxes and your school taxes. Is this the same software that they?
Yeah, so
Surrounding towns use? I know like Pleasant Valley is on that list of the towns that can use that. Is that the same software?
I don't know if it's the same software.
Different software with the same approach.
Yeah, it's the same deal, though. They would put a portal on our website, and they would allow online payments, so I would have to look.
So I'm all for it, and I'm not sure anyone can argue with. I think we go ahead and move with this, with the other bank.
So we can have
They
something
rep-
ready for the next
They
meeting.
represent quite a few towns also doing
Yep,
this.
that's fine. Excellent work, thank you very much. Local business support, Michael, I'm going to turn to you again. You had some
Back to
ideas
back,
we
geez,
discussed, yes, oh my
All right,
God.
so, basically, you know, I hear a lot of complaints a lot of the time reading Facebook, or people reach out about, you know, they see too many of this business, they see too many of Y business, but they miss the fact that there's a lot of new businesses in town. And I think it kind of falls on us as well, is that, I'll give you a couple examples. There's a specialty snack shop now in town that has like international snacks and stuff here on 44 that we probably all drive by and don't realize it's there.
It used
There's
to be the old vape
the
shop.
vape shop up by Valley Moto now. We have a board gaming card place over here in the Acme Plaza, which is running events every single night except for I think 2 nights a week. So they're bringing people in from all over the place. There's just a lot of businesses like that we kind of, they're forgotten about. So I would like to put the idea out there that there's simple little things that we could potentially do that don't cost the town any money. For example, we spoke about just doing simple ribbon cuttings. You know, we know when a business opens because they have to come into the planning and zoning
Right.
office. So we know when that happens. And another thing that Councilwoman and I, Albrecht and I were talking about was maybe doing a small business festival type thing. Maybe in the spring, kind of like a Pleasant Valley weekend, but just kind of like maybe a 4-hour block. And it's just basically, we go around and we get local businesses to set up things. And I think we take it for granted of what we actually have. And I'd love to see all these different things now staying in here and investing in our town, and even more stuff investing in the town. So what I'm looking for is, would you guys be behind maybe putting together a small business committee that we kind of have? And
Absolutely, anything to fill our storefronts, I have no problem.
I would love if I can kind of head that up. And what my idea is that I'll work with the planning and zoning office, and then I'll be like kind of the person that gets us at those things.
The liaison.
Yeah, so I just want to see more businesses succeed, and the residents knowing and being able to support them, so.
I think you were being a little kind on when you're approaching, because we hear only about the businesses that we don't like.
Well, that's the thing, yeah.
Okay, and there are businesses
I'm
that
not gonna
open-
say anything.
Right, I know, I'm not gonna mention anyone particular, but when somebody opens up something we don't like, boy, do we hear about it, but you never hear about somebody, for instance, that model shop or the sporting gaming shop.
Well, like the gaming shop, that's not something I'm into, but I have friends that are, so
Right,
now
right.
I can go support them and buy a gift card for, there's
Right.
people, but I didn't even know about it until I saw something on Facebook randomly, so.
Right.
But if somebody also is coming into town because it's a specialty thing that's going to draw a certain crowd, well, while they're here, maybe they're hungry,
Exactly.
maybe they're thirsty, maybe they need this or that, so before they leave, maybe they patronize 1 or 2 other businesses.
Yep,
One hand kind of washes the other.
I agree.
all for it, I like the idea, let's move forward on it. Mill site update. Okay, so while the mill site did look very good for our Memorial Day service, and I want to extend the thank you out to all those who helped and volunteered in any capacity. There is still more work to do. There are still things that need to happen. And we've got a few more companies that have offered different services and different things like materials that they would like to donate to help the park continue to stay the way it is and improve. So we're going to be keeping up on that, and we'd like to maybe make the mill site have its own little group that's responsible. Few people have talked about, and I wanted to bring up a gardening group. Anyone out there in TV land who would like to start a gardening group, that would be very helpful to the town. While a lot of work was done there, a lot of people didn't understand or know some of the plants. We had to call in experts, Gene Curley and a few others, to point out what we can and cannot destroy, or take out or rip out. So it would be very helpful if we had something along those lines. So the work continues. It'll be even better next year, and that'd be great.
Do you mind if I jump in quick?
Go right ahead.
So I was actually out in Cornwall Park. It's on the Hudson, kind of right behind the village of Wappingers.
Yep.
And I ran into one of the county legislators, not my mother-in-law, for Wappingers, and we got talking about how they maintain. I mean, this is a very large park. It's like almost 100 acres, and it's beautiful.
Right.
And he was stating that he created maybe like 20 years ago a Friends of Cornwall, and that's exactly what they do. They have like trail monitor volunteers.
Yep.
They have gardening, so. What it does is it allows them to go out and fundraise and kind of do their thing to support that. So that could be an option that,
Absolutely.
If we have enough interest.
I was on that once down in Wappingers.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay. Number 8, engineer for the Gully at Helen, Aldridge. Okay, so we have a situation that has presented itself. We almost have it all fixed and ready to go. However, we didn't find out for sure if this water was going to be displaced that's going to go down in that gully. So we really should have our engineer look at that before we fill it in.
According to John Baxter, I believe he did.
The engineer, John Baxter, or?
No, John Baxter went out there with Greg.
So
So I went out there.
That's what I would remember.
I went out there with Greg, and Greg was unsure as to how we should go.
Okay.
He suggests that we have somebody who look at the water department, because he's not a water guy.
So,
There's a catch basin at the bottom.
yeah.
That if we fill in that hole and just fill it up, all that water runs off into that catch basin more so than it did before.
So, well, I want to hear what you have to say, but hold on one second, Mike. So, but from how that hillside is now, there's just a giant culvert pipe that's just open that's dumping water there anyway, right? So, like, all we're doing is just covering the water that's being moved. We're not, you know what I mean? Like, it's already there.
I agree, but we are also creating a hill that's going to make it go that way. All of it's going to go into one spot.
Okay.
So you're going to have it above.
It's already pitched that way.
Yeah, and I
It's already
Greg
pitched towards that
already-
house.
can let me get a second?
Go ahead.
So I was very surprised when I saw this on the agenda tonight because up until the agenda, I honestly thought this was done because the last time we talked about this was April when we awarded the bid
Right.
to have this project done. And back on March 17th, when this was proposed to the board, I had actually written to the entire board that I recommended that maybe an engineer should look at it for the water issues. Emily also mentioned 3 different emails that the town engineer should probably look at this. I mentioned again that the town engineer should look at this, and nobody else seemed concerned. I'm just confused on how now we're 4 months from then, and the project's still not done, and now we're having the conversation and trying to remedy something that we should have fixed back in March, because we have a couple issues. The RFPs, I mean, let's be honest, that we awarded this, they bid back in March. Diesel, we know, has gone through the roof since then. So what do we do with the bids that we got in? I can't imagine he's going to still honor the same price. 2, we have a big pit now during summer camp, which was what we were trying to stop. And we have a big event there this weekend. So, and the third thing is, I'm just surprised. We need to be communicating about this because,
Well,
again, I thought this was done.
There was a lot more to it than just getting the stuff delivered and dumped.
So where in the process did this project stop? Because the last time this board talked,
So where we are right now is to have someone actually spread the dirt. Well, there's several different types of stuff that's gonna go into it. First is gonna be, I guess, gravel or whatever, and then there's gonna be fill, and then there's topsoil.
and
So,
wasn't that in the RFP? It
not all of
explained-
it, no.
Just
So the
the
first
stone.
couple are, we talked about
The
this.
stone.
Stone is first,
Well, there's different types of stone.
right, and then
Bigger
there's,
rocks,
then there's
smaller.
then there's the fill, just the general fill, and then topsoil is separate, we have not found the topsoil.
I knew we needed to purchase topsoil.
Right, we have to purchase topsoil
And
yet.
back, yeah.
So in the meantime, while we're still waiting for somebody who's able to work the machinery to spread this, see, here's what happens, when you deliver all this stone and then dirt, you can't just dump it all in a hole and have one big delivery. You have to do it in several different steps, and then have someone spread it each day. Well, at the present time, we don't have the time, or anyone right now, as far as I understand, yet that can move that stuff around. Is that correct, Sandra? Have we nailed anybody yet down to do that?
As far as I know, no, but, no.
I mean,
Right. So while this is being held up, I wanted to double check that what engineer has looked at, where this water's going.
this was back in April. I'm looking at the RFP right now. The RFP specifically states that it will start working as soon as possible with the highway department's schedule, weather permitting. As far as I knew, and I might be wrong, is that the plan was, the stuff was getting donated immediately, this award was given to the bidder, and Sandy Co. was supposed to coordinate this with Highway Superintendent Baxter, and this was supposed to be done. I just don't know how did we get back onto the engineer thing, because nobody had that concern back in March, and here we are going into a summer and it's still not done. How did we get to where we are today? Because this was all planned out.
So
Bless you.
it's at the highway department's availability.
And they can't do it now because
They
they're
can't-
busy because it's
They
the
can't do
summer.
it now
That's why
because
we
it's-
did it
right.
in the spring.
We didn't get to here in enough time. Simple as that. We didn't get finished or ready to go. So what happened was, when we couldn't get that to be done, I wanted to double check the hole that we're talking about. First was are the stumps going to create a problem?
I brought all of these issues up.
I understand that. So we
and
checked.
nobody said anything.
So when we met afterwards to set up the process, I went up to look and see where everything was going to go, and I said, shouldn't we check on that hole?
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a totally different question? I want to move this train to a different rail. So I come to my knowledge, I guess, that someone got a price to have someone come in with the knowledge, an excavator, to move all this material for us? No, I'm telling you that I just found out. All right, so what I'm saying is, would we to get this project done, would we entertain that price? Do we want to hear what that price is? We got to get the project done at this point. We got to get it done. We could sit here, it's annoying to know that, all of a sudden it's and I'm like, what happened? Why do we need an engineer now when I thought it was filled? So here's what I'll say is, should we entertain the price of $1,200 a day? How long was this supposed to take for the deliveries to happen?
I just don't understand why the taxpayers now have to pay $1,200 a day when this was supposed to be done back in April. I have no idea how we're sitting here in the middle of June now with no communication, and this is
The
just.
highway department was unable, when the stuff was scheduled to go, to move the piles as delivered. It has to go as delivered.
I thought we had Mr. Gardner, he was going to be the one that did this.
That was not etched in stone. That was a question as to whether or not that was going to be a possibility, and it's not a possibility. It was a thought, it was an idea, and it was a hope, but that was not a possibility afterwards. So we've been struggling to find some way to do this, to get it done. In the meantime, after I've looked at where the water was actually going to go into the person's yard, then I was a little more concerned and said, maybe we should look at that one more time while we have the time. before we fill in the hole and before we change the direction of the water, while we have this time, while we're waiting, to make sure we're covered. That's all.
I just really wish that we do stuff right the first time. I totally agree. It should have been done back in March. Nobody wanted to do that, and now we're going to just delay this, and now we're going to spend more money, have to do another RFP.
I don't think we're going to have to spend that much any money, really, to be honest with you. I haven't heard anyone calling and saying they're going to change their numbers. I believe everything's the same. All I'm thinking is we should have somebody who knows displacement of water to check out if we displace this water towards this gentleman's property, if we have a major rainstorm, which we've been having some major rainstorms, that the water above doesn't supersede the catch basin that it's going to go into.
So
And then
how
we can
much?
possibly flood this person's yard and basement.
I was there when, in my email, it stated that I was there right after the snow melted, and I saw the same thing, and that's why I brought this up in March. But Mike, how much is this going to cost?
Well, so I do say that we should have, at this point, we need to have Greg look at it, because we've just dragged our feet enough, but.
Greg suggested somebody else that's more of an expert of that.
So here's my question, though. Our highway superintendent, who is our MS4 coordinator, who deals with all of our stormwater and drainage stuff, why would we not take, if he does that for the whole town, why would we not take his word on it for this one little project, is my question.
And I also brought this up at a board meeting, and you guys all told me that our engineer had already looked at this
Well, so-
and already signed off on this, and so
According
did
to
John
what-
Baxter. So
According to what John told me, I remember him saying that he talked to Greg about the project, and Greg gave him the green light of, yes, that'll be a proper and sufficient remedy. But I guess what I'm getting at is, this far down the line, like, we clearly didn't take one word for it, and he manages stormwater for the whole town. So let's get whoever we need to stamp this with approval so we can move on.
Yes.
It's not open to the public.
It's not open to the
unfortunately.
public this time. This is us to discuss. I get it, Gene, thank you. I appreciate it. But we can't have an open forum like that. I know, it's frustrating, I get it. But that's why we put these things out on Thursday, so people can read and ask questions and, yes.
So did you get a quote from him for this person?
So I have a quote for the expert of engineer of 1,500 to go and make sure that the water gets dispersed correctly. If there's any extra water that fills up that basin, Greg actually did admit while he was sitting there looking at it, he suggested that that basin be moved back a little bit to catch a little sooner. Isn't that what he said, Sandra? When we were up there with Greg, he suggested that that basin move back sooner a little bit, correct?
Well, yeah, he actually
Right.
suggested a different basin that he didn't think would be
Right.
shattering in terms of work.
This prompted me to say maybe we should get someone to look at that.
Is this expert still within the same firm?
Yes.
CPL? Yeah,
Yes, so it's not that big of a deal.
right,
It's somebody within Griggs.
yeah.
So while we are still waiting for somebody to be able to, or even our highway superintendent, who, to have the time and availability, I say we just take the extra time to cover ourselves and make sure that that basin would not overflow. There's no sense filling it up, having it flood someone's yard, their basement, and then having to go dig it back out again. So
Now, I
that
do
was,
have to say, the estimate that I got of the gentleman for $1,200 a day with a machine is a whole lot cheaper. I called around to all the big companies that rent D4s, D5s, and they didn't come close to him without the labor. That's including the labor.
if we need to go that route, then that's the guy we go to, I mean, I think.
Oh,
I
no,
think-
we're going to have to.
Why?
Because unless you can get, first of all, John doesn't have the equipment for it. He doesn't have a bulldozer. He only has a backhoe. You can't move that many tons of material with a backhoe.
Now I'm even more confused
Yeah,
because
so am I,
that was what I was
because
told. when
I was
we
under the
met.
impression we had
I thought we
that.
had a large bucket loader
So
up
did
there.
I thought we had enough to move it.
It's
Because
not-
originally, that was what the original thing was, that we were gonna ask a guy who lives right there to do it, and he could have handled the machine. So, I mean, that would have told me we have the machine.
I
So-
don't know. He told me that it wasn't a good, good thing to do it with.
Okay, to be continued.
Just wondering.
Yeah, can we give the engineer the go-ahead, just is what I'm asking here.
I'd rather spend $1,500, although I don't like to spend money at all, but I'd rather spend $1,500 than to flood out a homeowner's home, yard, and basement and be looking at a,
Potential loss.
6-figure lawsuit in a minimum,
Oh, I was just gonna point out that if you do need to contract it out, if it's over 4,000, there's a purchasing
Right,
procedure.
right.
Yeah, it's below procurement, so.
Okay. So is it safe to say we take the next safety step? Okay. Okay, picnic tables for the parks. So we have these huge picnic tables that have been over the years with floods going up and leaving the property or being just rotted out and damaged. I believe we used to have at some point up to 30 or so. Now we are down to about maybe 8 or 6 that are workable and 8 that aren't. We really need to consider replacing them. Now, here's the problem. I got to tell you, they are expensive. Sandra was kind enough to give me a whole bunch of brochures on stuff that would be more permanent, and they're in the neighborhood of 1,000 or so a piece. If you guys want to take a look at some of these at your leisure. There's metal ones, there's all this recompressed wood that are excellent looking, they're gorgeous, they'll stand the test of time, but they're all expensive. Or we can go with the wood. Now, just to give you an idea, to replace one of those, last year at the Bicentennial, we borrowed the ones from the Polish park up there on Hibernia Road. What do you say it? No.
Polonia
La
Pavilion,
Polonia Pavilion, thank you very much. And one of them got damaged on the way back. We had to replace it. It was $500 just for the wood one. So we have to make a decision which ones. Now, I understand years ago, when I first came on, I learned that these picnic tables were supposed to be replaced as they were getting damaged or destroyed or no longer in use. And it stopped somewhere along the line. I don't know where it stopped, so. So we need to consider really start getting that back into a budget. Okay, because we're down to 8, as far as I know. Any thoughts on that? Anyone?
I mean, I guess my 2 cents would tell me that maybe then, so we should look at maybe replacing some this year. If we're gonna have to replace some every year, we should probably have some form of a line item that
I was thinking
has 2 to 3, 4,
Okay.
maybe 4 tables worth every year. We buy 4 tables.
Right.
That way, eventually we'll build up a number of tables, and eventually then we'll have to phase more out as we buy them, or we buy 4 a year.
I agree.
All right, we'll do the math.
Okay. Property changes, Stream and Clinton Corners and Pump House. Okay, this is gonna be fun. So, we have a couple properties. The one at the end of, the piece of property at the end of the mill site, which houses the pump for the firehouse, that, they want to put a generator, big generator, to use right
Well, a
next
motor
to.
to pump,
No, they were talking generator.
Generator.
not a pump.
No, they need a pump
They have
too.
a pump, but they have that
Frank.
generator.
Oh, okay.
They need a pump as well,
Oh, okay.
but they need a generator as well. So they want to put the generator right adjacent to the house. This puts us in a position of, now we got to take care of assets. So I'm suggesting and maybe proposing, and this might happen if, or maybe we can or can't, I've already asked Emily a little bit, to detach the corner of the mill site and make it no longer parkland, just what's sitting for the pump and the pump house and where the generator would sit, and declare it like waterworks or something else, and not parkland. And this way, we can turn around and maybe give the responsibility to the firehouse, which is gonna be all their apparatus to maintain it, take care of it, watch it, and it's not our responsibility. God forbid somebody gets hurt on the generator, I don't know, they play with those things. It's not a park with security. So I'm thinking we separate it. So what we'd have to do, in order to declare it something else, we'd have to undeclare it as parkland, correct? And the New York State does that, right?
Correct.
All right.
Yeah, you have to you have to petition the state legislature to allow you to alienate parkland.
So we need to have that determined, what exact piece we want to separate, which is a very small piece. It's really not that much at all. And then we have to replace parkland, correct?
Typically, that's
What you got to do.
Right.
And so lo and behold, we have
I like this part.
we have a stream that belongs to us that I think Climate Smart's going to love this. It's up in Clinton, and we pay taxes on this property. We can declare that stream parkland and make it an official safety for whatever indigenous fish, frogs, turtles, and anything else that lives, native plants, anything that goes in there with that. So it's kind of like a win-win for everybody. So we have the property we can declare as parkland, and that would solve that problem. Thoughts on the matter?
Well, also, if that is declared parkland, we don't pay property taxes to Clinton anymore for it, for property that is under the creek. It's underwater.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I have to look into, there's a lot of questions here.
Yeah, so
we
my-
need to look into.
Yeah,
as
my
far as
question would be,
whether you-
because we don't own it, can we declare it parkland? It's not ours, it's in the town.
Oh, no, we do own it. We're paying
No, no.
property tax to Clinton for it.
I understand that, but it's not within our borders.
That's
You
what
understand?
I'm not sure. the
It's not
swap-
ours.
I'm
It's
not
the
sure
town
the
of
swap will
Clinton's.
work.
How do we own it?
We as the town of Pleasant Valley can't say the town of Rhinebeck is now a park. Like, we don't have.
We can, Frank. I'm going to start an army, and we're going to take it
So,
over.
I mean, like, there's a lot of questions here, but I'm saying, like, I don't think it's in our jurisdiction. It's outside of our town.
If it is, that would be an answer to our situation. Yes, if it is. And that's what I'm proposing to find out. And if it is, that's the way I think we can go. Yes?
Let's find out.
Okay. So I'm going to pursue that a little further. So we got to find out that, whether, if we're paying taxes on it, I guarantee it, we own it.
Oh, I know you own it. I'm just not sure the swap will work, but we'll find out.
Okay.
We get a tax bill from Clinton every year on it. I, had to sign off on the voucher for it to pay it this year, so.
Okay, and that brings us to the update on open meetings law amendment allowing video conferencing. I'm going to turn this over to our attorney, Emily. Did you have any updates on that?
Yeah, so I wanted to give the board an update. I'm not sure that what is currently available is going to work for Pleasant Valley, but I wanted you to understand what the options are, especially when you're looking into the software for streaming meetings and such. So essentially, now that the pandemic is over, as the supervisor said before, the general allowance for remote meetings is over now. So all meetings have to be in person. So we're mainly back to the rules as they existed before. And the rules before only allowed video conferencing if you could have a person, say, at another location, like their home, and they could video conference in, but only if that location was advertised as an alternate location for the meeting, so people could come to that member's home and take part in the meeting from there. So no one really ever used that
Right.
option. I mean, unless there were like two buildings where you wanted to have the meeting. So that's not probably something you
No.
want. But what the state did put in is a new provision, and that's what I wanted to bring to your attention. It allows an individual member to participate in the meeting through video conferencing remotely, only if, first, there has to be an extraordinary circumstance, so it's not supposed to be something that you do every time. And the municipality can define what they consider an extraordinary circumstance. But if a member has an extraordinary circumstance, they could video conference in. You do need to have a quorum in the main location where the meeting is being held, like the town hall. So you'd have to have a majority of people here. And then, but this is the tricky part. If you allow a member to participate by video conference, the public has to also be able to participate by video conference. And if you allow the public who's in the meeting to comment, then the public who's on the video conference needs to be able to comment. So you'd have to have a system where, first of all, you don't know when this is gonna happen, because it's extraordinary circumstance. So you'd have to really set up all your meetings to have this option. And then if you are using the video conferencing, the public has to be able to see the meeting, but also participate by providing comment, by video conference. And the member who is participating by video conference has to be able to see the public. So it's a lot of technology that you would need to put in place, I think, in order to make it work. And
We were close to that, though. Did we kind of do something?
No, we
You-
we
you
tried
had-
to be close to
You had a computer in
that.
front of you and you were answering.
No, we tried to be close to that. We did not make that functionally workable. And
Okay.
I'll laugh at how we did that, because that was a hot mess. But I could see how we would need some form of software, we would need somebody to monitor. I gotta be honest with you, trying to make the meeting go live is just enough of a headache while trying to be part of the meeting.
Yep.
We would need somebody here to run that for us. There's no way, that's a big undertaking. I can only imagine the software needed for that too.
right, I mean, I have not heard of many towns around here, actually any so far around here being able to, some of the ones in Westchester, for
Yeah.
instance, have more
Money's no
technology.
object, yeah.
And so, for instance, if, a board member had to be in Philadelphia during a board meeting,
Yeah.
they probably couldn't pull this off using their cell phone, right?
I mean, I don't know, you would need, I think that would be tough, maybe on a laptop,
Yeah,
but,
you would at
but the
least
problem is
need-
you would need the
Yeah.
software
Here.
here that
Yeah.
And then
enables
I'm
that all to
figuring,
work.
okay, if, for instance, it was me and I was in Philadelphia, I would have to be able to see the board, and then I would have to be able to see whatever residents were attending the meeting, so I'd have to have split screens.
Exactly.
And,
Exactly.
yeah.
And the
Okay.
residents would have to have all those views also. So if you decide at some point you want to opt into that, we have to do it by local law, and, there are models out there, so it's something the town can do, but I wanted you to understand
Okay.
the constraints.
Thank you very much for that update.
Sure.
That clarifies a lot. Okay, resolutions. I don't like to do resolutions too much on workshops, but this is a matter of time, and we gotta get these things done. Town Board Resolution 6100, 2022, authorizing the formation of the Pleasant Valley Weekend Committee and appointing its members. Whereas the Town Board has formed a Pleasant Valley Committee to assist with the planning and implementation of town celebration of its Pleasant Valley Weekend Committee. And whereas while the committee has been informally meeting, it is desirous of receiving official recognition from the town, and now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Pleasant Valley does hereby authorize the Pleasant Valley Weekend Committee, who shall assist the town in planning, coordination, and management of the town celebration of Pleasant Valley Weekend, and resolved that the following individuals are hereby appointed to the Pleasant Valley Weekend Committee with a term expiring December 31st, 2022. Committee members: Terry McCormick, Dale Taylor, Raina Montgomery, Fred Schaefer, Dave Talbot, Cindy Halupke, Kathy Kruger, Jamie Chapman Grasso, Mary Meyer, Gary Veeder, Dave Kruger, Terry Albrecht, and Mary Ellen Cowles. Do I hear a motion?
So made.
Second.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Town of Pleasant Valley Town Board Resolution Number 6101, 2022, establishing the Pleasant Valley Weekend Peddler Certificate Fee. Whereas pursuant to Chapter 71 of the Town of Pleasant Valley Code, entitled Peddling and Soliciting, 71-7A states that the town board shall establish by resolution and file with the town clerk the schedule of fees to be paid prior to issuance of certificates, and whereas the town board desires to establish a peddler certificate fee specifically for Pleasant Valley weekend, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of Town of Pleasant Valley hereby establishes the peddler certificate fee for Pleasant Valley weekend at $15, and be it further resolved that any persons as identified in 71-2 person seeking to engage in the distribution of certain materials, peddling, soliciting, and related activities for Pleasant Valley weekend must apply for a peddler's certificate, and be it further resolved that any person who is a current and valid certificate must also apply, but will be exempt from having to pay the $15 fee for Pleasant Valley weekend. And be it further resolved that all other provisions of Chapter 71 of the Town of Pleasant Valley Code shall remain the same in full force and effect. Do I hear a motion?
So made.
Second?
Any discussion?
Yeah, really quick. So I'm just looking at the next resolution that waives registration fees for the town organizations. Is the registration fee that's being talked about in this peddler's permit that we're setting?
So I believe, Terry, you want to answer? Maybe let me go to Mary Beth.
There's two fees. There's the fee that the committee puts on, and then there's the peddlers. Peddlers is with our code. So the peddler's permit is the $15.
Right.
Whatever the committee charges,
It's
That's the
different
registration fee that the next one's talking
for
about.
the park, yeah.
Yeah. To have
Okay.
a
For the-
booth,
to have a booth at the
area, the
weekend.
tent, whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just thinking, is your budget based off of collecting $15 per peddler permit?
we don't get that many.
So I'm just wondering, I mean, obviously there needs to be a permit and an application because you need to verify stuff, but I mean, do we really need to be charging $15 for
My only
Pleasant
question,
Valley weekend specifically?
my only question is how much time does it take you to process a peddler's permit?
But
So then
sometimes
probably
you need a
not.
background search, so
But-
that takes 2 to 3 weeks.
But does that cost you money in your office or?
No, that's free. The sheriff's office provides it for free.
I'm just saying is it's not really in the town clerk's budget anyway to be collecting this. I think we're kind of tripping
no.
over dollars here. I mean, do we
I
really
think-
need to?
I think she's just trying to comply with the law here. That's the idea of it.
According to the code, it's $50 a month.
What?
It's normally $50 a month, she said.
It's 50, yeah, so we've been, in the past, I've been doing a one-time Pleasant Valley weekend fee, if you will, of
Yeah.
$15. But what Mike's getting at, and I get it, is we're trying to we're trying to give people the tools to throw an event that's community-based. We
Right.
probably shouldn't be charging anybody anything. is what
Like,
he's
if
getting at,
this
for the
is
community day.
specific just for the event,
Right, for the community.
I
day,
don't
which-
see why, if we don't really need the money, why are we charging $15 to process an application?
So-
For me, I just feel like it should be, they've
So-
already
Yeah,
paid
because
for
this
it.
was part of the conversation we had, trying to get more people from the town.
Can I make a motion that we change the $15 to $0?
I have no problem with that.
Second,
We would have to vote on the amendment
Can-
before we vote on the.
I just want to know if we can do that. Can we do that?
yeah.
I'm pretty
Can we
sure
ask Emily?
within a certain set of
Your
rules,
code right now,
we could do
actually.
a lot of things.
Yeah, I was looking at the code, and it looks like the town board shall establish the resolution to cover the cost of investigation and administration enforcement of this chapter. It doesn't say we have to we
Well, it
could,
says to cover the cost of the investigation, it's free.
yeah,
Well,
so
you
I,
have to set the fee, so you can set it at 0 if you
Yep,
want to.
so,
Okay.
okay, so we set the fee at 0.
Who made the second?
Mike did.
I did.
That's better for your peddlers.
So-
They'll be happier.
Should we,
That's
uh,
great.
We just have to
We gotta
vote.
vote on it twice, though.
Yeah,
Oh, so-
because
so
we want
we-
people from the town to
we
be
gotta vote on the
involved in
amendment and then the
Pleasant Valley
resolution.
Weekend,
So,
you know.
all in favor of the amendment that's just been made?
Aye.
Aye.
And then we're waiving the fee to 0. Do I hear a motion to waive the fee to 0?
Well, technically
So-
Keith already motioned
Right.
it, and I
Right,
seconded
you
it, so we just
seconded,
gotta
so-
vote. Yep.
Yeah.
So,
All in favor?
all in favor? Aye, perfect. So your peddlers will be $15 happier. There you go. So that was that one. That was 6101.
Yeah. Can I just clarify, though, I mean, to be within the letter of the law, they still have to have the peddler permit, we're just not gonna charge them for it.
Correct. Yeah, the fee for the peddler's permit is zero.
Yes,
Food certificate,
Right.
Yeah.
insurance and everything, but it's just no sale.
just wanted to clarify that so folks know you still do have to get the permit to be legal, you don't have to pay for it anymore.
There you go. Has anyone paid yet? Okay, good. So we beat that to the punch. All right, good. Town Board Resolution 6102, 2022, waiving Pleasant Valley weekend registration fees for town organizations. Whereas the Town of Pleasant Valley hosts an annual Pleasant Valley weekend event, whereas registration fees established for the vendors and exhibitors to host a booth or display at Pleasant Valley Weekend, and whereas the organizations may wish to participate in Pleasant Valley Weekend to share information with residents about community programs, and whereas the Town Board finds that it is not necessary or appropriate to require organizations that are part of Pleasant Valley town government to pay a fee for such participation. Now, therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of Pleasant Valley hereby waives all registration fees for Pleasant Valley weekend organizations that are part of Pleasant Valley town government. Do I hear a motion?
So moved?
Second?
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Town Board Resolution 6103, 2022, authorizing acceptance of gifts to the town of Pleasant Valley. Whereas pursuant to town law of 64-8, the Town Board of Pleasant Valley may take by gift, grant, bequest, or device and hold real and personal property absolutely or in trust for parks or gardens or for the erection of statues, monuments, buildings, or structures for any public use upon such terms or conditions as may be prescribed by the grantor or donor and accepted by said town, and provide the proper administration of the same. And whereas the Town Board, Pleasant Valley, has received an offer of a donation now, therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of Town of Pleasant Valley, on behalf of all the residents of the Town of Pleasant Valley hereby gratefully accepts the donation as specified below. Pleasant Valley Stone to donate approximately $3,000 to $5,000 worth of materials. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, so I'm just confused by the description of so it says Pleasant Valley Stone to donate approximately $3,000 to $5,000 worth of materials. Have they donated the materials?
They did.
Why, so what's the dollar amount?
Well, it really is anywhere between $3,000 and $5,000. It really wasn't a specific dollar amount. They said, take whatever you need to finish the job, and so I don't even know what that is. They were just gracious enough to give us that kind of feel. So if we needed more, get more, that kind of thing.
I also, I thank them for doing this. I really do. It looks great. I think I want to have more conversation about this in executive session with the attorney.
Okay. Oh, we're not accepting it?
It's up to you guys.
I seconded it just so we could talk about it, like, we had to have the discussion about it, but typically, we would take like we did in Helen Aldridge, right? We voted to take the donation before we actually took it. We still haven't taken it yet. We actually took this stuff without even knowing how much it's worth. We already own it at this point. What are we gonna do? Give it back? We have to accept this.
Yeah, we're kind of on the spot if we don't.
Yep.
That's a big.
All in favor?
I know it is, but aye.
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 All right.
Yeah, we own it already. Like, we can't not.
Yeah, but that's just a big gap. Are we supposed to allow that, Emily?
Well, if,
That's a big gap in amounts. Should we,
Yeah, I think in the grand scheme of things, it's an estimated dollar figure.
I mean, the amount could be $1,500 if you want to do an appraisal on what it was given.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
We're good. No, we're good.
Town Board Resolution 6104, 2022, resolution creating the position of Secretary to the Supervisor and appointing Jennifer Adams. Whereas the Town Board has determined that to improve operations and efficiency within Town Hall and best serve the public, it is appropriate to create the position of Secretary to the Supervisor, and whereas pursuant to the Town Law, Section 29, Paragraph 15, the Town Board of a town of second class may authorize the supervisor to designate a confidential secretary and may fix the salary for the position. And whereas the Supervisor Del Vecchio has consulted with the Dutchess County Department of Human Resources, and the office has classified the position of secretary to supervisor in the competitive class effective May 25th, 2022. And whereas the position is pending state consideration for classification as exempt, and whereas the town supervisor and town board have been pleased with Jennifer Adams' service to the town board through her role as deputy clerk, whereas the town supervisor and bookkeeper have advised that the funds are available for the position of secretary to supervisor, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Pleasant Valley hereby creates the position of secretary to the supervisor and authorizes the town supervisor to appoint such secretary, and be it further resolved that the town board sets the salary for the position at $18 per hour, and be it further resolved that the town board recognizes the town supervisor's designation of Jennifer Adams to fill the position, and be it further resolved that the town board authorizes the town supervisor and bookkeeper to modify the 2022 adopted budget as follows. And we also put by request was the job description, which you guys should all have a copy and received earlier. A little bit, you have it. So while the title suggests one thing, the job description is pretty much the same, and with a couple of modifications that we had discussed and agreed on, that the part with it'd be a board secretary.
So
we need a motion and a second
So,
though,
yeah,
to
so-
talk about it?
So do I hear a motion?
So made.
Second?
I'll second it just to talk about it. So,
And-
can I, do you mind if I start?
Yeah.
Okay. So if I'm not mistaken, so a lot of this, there's a portion of this that we did talk privately about. So I'm trying to just get my words straight so I can talk about what I could talk about in public, but I don't remember. I guess my question is, if it's a secretary to the town board, why is it not called the secretary to the town board?
Because there's no such position.
We've made them before.
You
I mean,
know,
we've,
according to the gentleman, Mr. Manu,
no.
he says that you can't do that. And you shouldn't do that. So you can create the position of the title that's available and then redesign the work description for that position. That you can do.
So I'll do the easy one here. This resolution needs to be amended before we do it, because it says right now, 2022 adopted budget as follows, bookkeeper to add budget modification. So this isn't really a valid resolution the way it is right now.
Yeah, there's no, we don't know what the budget modification is. And I guess my last question is, under the third whereas,
Third whereas.
I don't necessarily remember this position being full-time.
That's because it wasn't.
If
So
you look at the FT next to the secretary to the supervisor, that would mean full-time. if I'm
that's not necessarily the case here yet. So what happens is, apparently, this has to go to the state if it goes full-time. So she can work exempt until it's decided whether or not that's a full-time position.
What?
That's how I understood it.
I think it has to go to the state to be declared exempt, right? Instead of
Exempt,
competitive.
right.
So I guess that's my misunderstanding, is that my concern now, I just got the letter today that was sent at the end of May from the civil service. It wasn't in the original packet. And And reading through that, this is now considered a competitive class, and it's not exempt as of right now. Obviously, we're going to apply for it to be exempt. But I'm going to put the situation out there, is that we appoint Jennifer Adams tonight, and let's say the state comes back and they say they will not provide an exemption for this. In his letter, it specifically says that she'll have to go take a class, a test, obviously, to be on the list, because it would go to civil service. Let's just put the scenario out there that other people take the test and they score higher than Jen. I was not under the assumption that this was a competitive, I was under the assumption that this was already an exempt position.
That's what I thought
And
also.
I don't know if I'm comfortable right now. Now, just seeing this today, that not talking to Jen because I didn't know about this part of it, putting her in a position that she potentially might not have a job if it does not get the exemption. And
So-
then what do we do?
So when they apply to the state, it's going to take months.
Oh, I know that.
upon
But that
months.
makes it even
Still
worse.
I know.
because-
And I have discussed it with her and made it clear to her that there's a good possibility down the line that you could be beat out for this job. And she said it's okay.
But the other part of that is I don't know if we want our confidential secretary that you appoint to be a competitive position, because once it becomes a competitive, we all know that civil service, it makes it much more difficult. First of all, we don't get to really have as much choice of who you feel comfortable
Got
having.
to take the top three.
Yeah, you have to take one of the top
the
three
top
who,
three, excuse
who
me.
most likely aren't going to be residents, who you don't really have a say in, and then you're supposed to have these closed conversations with them, and you see what she deals with on a day-to-day basis. I think that this being potentially being a civil service position changes, and we have to think about, let's say 6 months down the road, they don't give us the exemption, what do we do? Because now we're in this position.
Can I ask the question, did we ask if there's an active list for this position? Because if there's an active list, we can't hire Jen, we have to pick off the list.
It's not a civil.
It's
we could put
currently
her
it's
into the-
competitive.
So it's very much like our building inspector currently.
No,
It's the same thing.
No, our building inspector's part-time.
Our
He's
building inspector-
part-time, right.
But this resolution states that she's full-time, so like, we got to pick and choose what our words
And
here.
that's the other problem,
what I'm
because
saying
we
is-
specifically said no full-time.
If it's competitive, we have to pick off the list if we're creating this position for full-time, is what I'm saying. So we have to table this to make some modifications to the resolution. It has to be done. Like,
This has been the town in the past, so that's why I'm being extra
Right.
cautious
Right.
that we actually think this
So I say
through.
we table it until we get over.
Yeah, I mean, like,
that's
Jen's not
fine.
going anywhere. I
And
mean, it's not on her,
the
it's just the
salary- The
organization.
salary is 1803 per hour, not just 18. I looked that up.
Yeah, she'd take it at 3 cents.
All right, so we'll table it till we get the actual,
All right, I'll make a motion to table just for formality.
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
This goes here. All right. No items for special consideration. Old business discussions, Kirchhoff zoning application is still in holding. Changing of the name of Field 2, to Howe Field to Howe Park. and hold-
Really quick.
Yeah.
I know we just keep jumping over it, the Kirchhoff rezoning application, but since it's been, I've looked it over day one, is it involved with attorney? Where are we with that? Because I don't really, and you don't have to say much, I'm just
No,
curious,
it's
like,
fine, be happy to. So, we had a big meeting, with, planning board folks, and the attorneys and the applicants and everybody, and got on the same page, because it's kind of a funny process. They're asking first for a rezoning, but really it's to accommodate a project. And so we explained that they needed to provide enough information about the project to allow the planning board to do the seeker review, the environmental review, and went over what that would entail. And so it's back in the applicant's court to put that real proposal together. Yeah.
okay.
Changing of the field, that's also, we're waiting a little further down the line for family situation, right? Okay. New clerk software bid discussion continued. Any?
So did you, everybody, I mean, it was really up to you guys to look everything over and discuss it tonight of what we wanted to do as a board, so. I gave everybody the bids 2 weeks ago, so.
So I think some of the things that you'd mentioned too was contingent on how these things change too, whether we need this now or later, or you had alluded to that fact.
Yeah, so we need to figure out if that's what we want to do
Yeah.
or not.
Do we want to bring this in an executive session? Because it kind of ties together now? It kind of ties in with personnel.
This, Granicus?
I mean, I honestly think we should talk about the bids that came in, and then if we have to talk about personnel stuff to make a decision if we're going to
Okay.
to move
Yeah,
forward
so-
with it or not, but we should have the conversation, what you guys think.
Right.
Yeah, so, you wanna start, Mike, you wanna?
Okay.
I mean, yeah, so we got the 3 bids. The one obviously didn't really address any of the things that we wanted. So we realistically only got 1 bid for minutes and agendas and the video and all that stuff on the website. And then we have 2 bids in conjunction with that one. They bid for the FOIL software. And then another company bid for just FOIL management. And when you look at the bids, the one that just did the FOIL management, it's more expensive up front, but then their yearly subscription's lower, where the other one is,
Just a flat yearly subscription.
it's kind of tied in. It's hard to tell because it's tied in with their entire bid for everything. So we just have to have the conversation of where we want to go.
So my 2 cents would tell me that I think we've kind of beat around the bush long enough with the town. I mean, like, we finally got the video running again, but for how long? Like, this is a thing. I honestly think that we should hand over our agenda the town board meeting organization to Granicus. I mean, like, they gave us a price to handle it. That way it's kind of in their hands. It's in their court. Like, we are officially paying somebody to do this for us.
Doing,
So if I'm not mistaken, the meeting organization portion, they'll handle the video broadcast for us as well as the organization of our agendas and minutes.
that part I never heard. I heard only
No,
stuff that the minutes
so
are
they
taken.
link the agenda to the video broadcast, so they're sending us new hardware. Part of that initial cost is hardware for that camera, so we don't have to worry about it. It's part of their
So
software.
they broadcast it, so we don't have to.
Well, it's still on YouTube. It'll still be on YouTube, and we can actually put it on Facebook as well.
Will they do the planning and zoning also?
It handles everybody.
Thank you.
Everybody.
I think the big options here are, do we go with the software and advance what we have and what people have been wanting, or do we not do it, but then invest in a better system? Because in all honesty, this was put here just for COVID.
Right.
So I think whatever we decide to do, we have to do one or the other, because the people that are watching online, this can't keep going the way it is now. So if we go with Granicus, it will make the agendas and minutes and video and all that stuff more user-friendly, searchable, all that stuff, which is what people have been asking for. And I know they see the price tag, but I mean, if you want that user accessibility, it costs money. It's not
I
free.
think it's just a fact of biting the bullet and doing it, because
It's been talked about for years, so
it's a wonderful program. I got to see it. It's just amazing.
Okay, so where are we now? Where do you want to go? Do we vote to go
well, what do
ahead?
you guys think?
I mean, my 2 cents would tell me that we vote to accept the Granicus bid for the agenda management software. I don't think this town has the bandwidth to do both projects at the same time. I will say that out loud.
Yeah, I honestly,
Oh, yeah. well,
Yeah, we should not do
that's
both
right.
at the same time. That's just, I think, opening ourselves up for.
So this is just one piece of the puzzle.
and personally, to allow the residents to discuss what we're discussing now and put their input in, I would rather us wait until the next meeting to then pass the resolution to
I agree.
do whatever.
Yeah,
we're
we'll
gonna
make it
do.
more formal. We'll make it
Yeah,
formal.
so
Yeah.
is that what we want to do? Because we can,
I would say, I would ask John to ask Emily to prepare a resolution to accept that bid is what I would say.
Emily, would you please pass the resolution stating that? Thank you very much. And it's only one portion, right? Just the one portion.
just the first, not the foil
Right, not
stuff.
the foil
Because I
stuff.
think with everything going on, it's just going to be too crazy to begin with, and we're going to be paying for something else.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, one at a time, I would say.
Okay, so we're still waiting on the MIG grant for the Helen Aldridge bathroom. And,
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
On the MIG grant? Do we know, I mean, even though we put this plan together for the grant, what I'm saying is the town voted to expend the money regardless. I mean, I understand that this is free money. But what I'm saying is, can we now just move ahead with the project, then get reimbursed if we get the grant, or no? Okay. Oh, that's where I was going with this.
Not
Okay.
this one, nor-
Sorry. Just thought maybe to kick the can down the road a little faster.
Well,
And-
there may be some of the preliminary steps, no? Okay.
Okay. Okay.
you gotta wait.
I got you.
Right, if you want to get reimbursed, yeah.
Okay. I got you.
And ZBA alternates, I believe we're having the interviews this week. So I believe you signed up for it?
Yes.
Okay, so there'll be
You don't have-
Wednesday and Thursday, I believe, we have times.
Thursday,
I think
okay.
Jen has sent you the times.
I didn't see it in my emails this afternoon, but I'll check again when I get home.
Okay.
Bef-
And that brings us,
Before we open it up to the public, I'm just going back to what the legislators gave us for, at the last meeting. And it says Dutchess County is coming to the town on June 30th for an informational purposes for Camp New Teaming at 5:30, place to be determined.
June 30th.
Sorry,
It's July
Sorry,
July 27th, that's incorrect.
oh, so this is wrong now?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, if this was correct, we should probably tell everybody.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
and we are 99% that the July 27th date is the date.
Okay.
They moved it from June 14th, prematurely moved it to that date, and then they found out nobody could go, or whatever it was, and then they're looking at July 27th. As it turns out, from what I understand, they still haven't even closed that deal yet. It's pretty much almost there. Anything else? Okay, at this time, we'd like to open the meeting to the public for new business.
So moved?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
New business. Go right ahead, sir.
Are there any new developments in the new townhouse?
New town hall,
Yeah,
we're still discussing for some
so it's
more
still open,
possibilities.
it's still open, okay.
Right now, there's a concept plan being drawn up as we speak.
Jean Curley again. Bobby Bozak was the guy's name that was here when we had the whole thing about, and he said, anytime you need anything, he was MS4, call him. And I know his mother.
That's important. You always tell his mother on him.
Friends of Mill Site, when I was on the board, we started a group that met at the mill site on a regular basis, and it got to the point where people just came when they wanted to, when they could fit it into their schedule. Some people were still working. They came at 5 o'clock at night, worked for a couple of hours, whatever. It can work. We really did do a lot and kept it in check. There's a lot more to be done, as you said. All the hydrangeas that are around the building need to be cut right down to the bottom. I mean, they need to be cut back in the fall completely. They will come back, but they should never be allowed to get that big. We will go over all that, but absolutely, Facebook, get it out there that we need volunteers to help with the mill site. And regarding the property that we own, we need to plant a couple of really nice size oak trees that live 100 years. We need shade at Helen Aldridge, near the pavilion, in the front of the building. I can't tell you what kind of vine it was off the sign. You couldn't even read the Helen Aldridge sign. That's going to become a pollinator garden, and I'm working with a few gardeners for that. But, we need people to come and help. And I know that the Rotary has a time when they do projects. Well, we could ask for a tree, an oak tree for Helen Aldridge near the pavilion to put some shade there. We shouldn't have to rely on canopies every time you want to do something at Helen Aldridge. So I'm just saying, and I did have something else, but I don't know what it is now. Oh, no, I want to know what the holdup is of the MIG grant.
They said they weren't going to, July, they would let us know. They make their decisions.
Slowly. Yeah. The dates that it's due.
They want it immediately,
yeah.
and then you get to wait. That's the story of those kind of things. Anyone else?
Well, working at the mill site, volunteering, I had occasion to go into the old office building. I'm hesitating because I hate to be negative. I really do. But it is not usable the way it is inside. The museum is on the second floor. Steps. I remember years ago it was on the first floor. The upstairs was storage and an office. That needs to be redone. One wall has a very large poster board type thing about the length of the wall. Behind that is a beautiful wall. You need somebody, doesn't have to be a member of the committee or anything, but somebody to really look at that and come up with some good ideas. It is a benefit to the town. People could come to town, and we're talking about businesses, which is what I did for a long time. If they had a place to go that's open one day a week, maybe, it would help everything. But that's it.
Thank you.
Okay, so first I wanted to thank you for,
Could you please state your name and where you live?
Terry McCormick, Wigston Road. So I just wanted to say thank you for taking the fee away for the peddler's permit for Pleasant Valley Days. Then, I think it was you that had said about like recognizing businesses as they pop up. So many years ago, another town that I had moved into when we first bought our house, we got like all kinds of information on local businesses. I don't remember where it came from. I don't know if it was like Chamber of Commerce or I don't know. But then when I bought my home here in Pleasant Valley, I didn't get anything. So big difference. And lastly, just throwing it out there, picnic tables. I know that there's a broad fee on them depending on where you go. But I did start to look into it just because I'm on, a committee that's going to be needing them here in town. So mid-May, I got a price from a smaller company across the river, and they were $400 if we got 3 or more. So it wasn't a bad price. Wood, yeah. So I don't know what size, if you need the ones that are going to be like stuck into the ground or anything like that, but I have that information. If you're interested, I could forward it to you. So that was it.
I would like that number.
Okay.
You know those packets that you were talking about?
Yes.
We used to do that through the chamber.
Okay.
We don't have a chamber in Pleasant Valley anymore, so it's Dutchess County Chamber of Commerce.
Right.
But I could call them and see if they have something that they would be able to give us for new residents.
Yeah, because that was really helpful at the time. When I moved to that community, I was early 20s, didn't really know anything. And it was the same thing when I moved here about 8 years ago. I had been in the area, so I knew, outwardly, I knew Pleasant Valley, but I wasn't really familiar. And like it was pointed out, as these other businesses are coming in, we all want to support them, but you know, we're just not always hearing about them. So that would be really great and helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? We'll try BOCES for picnic tables. Okay. Not hearing any more. I suppose we close the meeting to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Are we going into executive session?
I guess so. Yeah.
For what?
101.5.
101.5. Okay.
I don't have the number in front of me.
Is it personnel? F.
That, yeah.
I make a motion, we go into executive session for 105.1 F.
Second.
personnel.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much for
Thanks,
coming,
man.
folks. Next Monday, I have another meeting, a Redell Park meeting. Yeah. It's so much to do. I want to go, trust me.
Motion to come out of executive session? Not yet?
You really want to go,
Oh,
don't you?
yes, I do.
He's counting down the minutes. All right, now you can make
Go ahead.
All right. Motion to come out of executive session.
So moved. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.